Emulate the taste of like non-chicken nuggets. So, these nuggets are made from chicken, but they're made to emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
Oh, that's much better.
Edit all the blather out of your videos because my time is very precious.
Oh, that's fire.
Make it less teal and more
Cerulean? Sure.
Replace your background with something more fun? The cold void of outer space.
Let's boost that sound quality. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Emulate the taste of non-chicken nuggets. Dope.
It needs more style. It needs more clips, more gifs, more. Well, I might have made it too gnarly.
Hey,
What's
Ariel.
up?
Hey.
How are things?
Things are good. How about you?
Great over here. Just you and me today. We're here to talk about Descript 101. I know that folks may have seen Christiana's face on our cover art for this event, but I am filling in today, so I'm very excited to be here. Harmony, why don't you tell us who you are?
Yeah, I think so. Hey everyone, I'm Harmony. I've been at Descript about 2.5 years now. I'm a customer success manager and product specialist. So I feel very humbled that I get to work with brand new customers, show them the ropes in Descript, ensure that they're empowered, they know how to incorporate it into their workflow, and even more excited that you're here, Ariel, because now I get to talk to them about Squadcast too.
That's right. Yeah, I come to Descript by way of Squadcast. I'm now a community manager at Descript, but I was at Squadcast, which is a remote recording platform. And today we're here to talk about Descript 101, but I imagine there will be some questions about remote recording, and we will be sure to get to those. Let's talk about the agenda for today. How does that sound, Harmony?
I love it. Yeah, we've got a full hour and a half, so there's lots to cover in the time that we have. So super excited to answer y'all's questions along the way.
Yeah. So today we are going to spend a lot of time together. Like Harmony said, we'll have time for your questions. We'll have time for our answers. If you do have questions, we would love to see those in the Ask a Question tab. We'll talk about that more in just a moment. Today we're going to be talking about importing and transcribing content into Descript. We're going to talk about recording. That'll be both recording within Descript and then also recording remotely and editing in Descript. We're going to talk about scenes. We'll talk about our stock media library. We'll talk about edit, write, correct mode. And we will talk about editing, specifically script, timeline, and canvas. We'll go into some template discussion, and then we'll talk about publishing and exporting. How does that sound, Harmony? Do you think we can handle that?
It's a mouthful, I think we got this.
We got this too. And folks, we really do have a lot of time for this. But if we don't cover your question, or if we don't get to something in as much depth as you would like, we have a lot of resources for you to check out. We've got a YouTube channel. We have a Discord that we'd love for you to join us on. We'll have all of these links available in just a moment. And we also have office hours every Wednesday in our Discord channel. Again, I'll share a link for that very shortly. Reminders about what is going on here today. We would love for you to use the chat very freely. Please tell us where you're from. Tell us what you're making on the internet. Tell us your hopes and dreams as content creators. Do you make podcasts? Do you make videos? Do you make both? Do you have questions about marketing? Do you have let us know, because all of this will either get answered today or it will get answered in the future. So please ask questions in the question tab and keep the chat going in the chat. We would also love for you to respond to each other in the chat. That would be great. We also have two folks from our support team here answering your questions in the Ask a Question tab. Shout out to Zach and Rahul. You guys rock. And of course, this session will be recorded. So if you pop in halfway, or if you need to leave halfway, you can always get the full thing up on YouTube. It'll be available right after. If we freeze, Crowdcast sometimes gets a little glitchy. If we freeze, just refresh. Or if you're having trouble with Crowdcast, go to our YouTube channel. We are streaming live there too. If you want more help, individual help, go to help.descript.com, submit a ticket. We will get back to you as soon as possible. And of course, join us in our Discord, and I'm going to pull up the QR code for folks to join us in our Discord. We would love to see you there. Just scan that QR code, and our Discord is super, super active, and we would love to see you there. Harmony, what else before we get into things? Oh, I've got a good one.
Yeah.
I got a good one. We would love for you to try Descript Pro for free. So if you are a new Descript user, you can use Live 30 at checkout, and you'll get, I believe it's 1 month free of Descript Pro.
Yep.
And yeah, take advantage of that. Scan that QR code, or actually, do I? Yes, I do have a QR code of that. Make it super easy for you. So just scan that QR code and enter code Live30 at checkout for your free month. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Harmony, and we will get into it. How's that
Awesome.
sound?
That sounds great.
Again,
Yeah.
this is what we're going to cover. Let's do it.
Let's go. So, yeah, really appreciate folks joining today. And especially if you're brand new to Descript, you might be wondering, like, why am I here? What is this thing called Descript? Essentially, when we talk about it, it's a very collaborative, all-in-one audio and video editor that works a lot like a Word doc. And I'm super excited to see like what kinds of content folks are creating. It's great for audio and video workflows. And I hope that, you know, after today, you'll have Descript as sort of a tool in your communication toolkit. And yeah, excited to start showing you guys around. So I'll go ahead and share my screen here so we can just get started. All right, Ariel, is this looking okay?
Yes, it is looking great. Folks in the chat, let us know if anything is too big, too small. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and increase the size just a little bit. Hopefully it'll be a little bit better. Cool. All right. So if you've, let's say, just redeemed that code, you've redeemed your first month and you've logged in to Descript for the first time, this is where you'll land. This is what we call the drive view. I usually like to start here because it kind of gives you a bird's eye view into everything that's going on in your account. So pretty simple. Over here on the right, this is where all of your projects and folders are stored. So you can set up new folders. They can get nested. If you have folders that you frequently work out of, you can star them and they'll stick to your left side nav. Over on the left, you've got some quick filters. So projects are recent projects that you've had open. You can sort by name, duration, creation date, last viewed. Then the next thing is quick recording. So kind of thinking holistically about all of the tools that are available in Descript, you're going to see that the app goes very wide and deep very quickly. So at its core, it's an audio and video editor. Layered into that, we have things like automatic transcription. You can record directly in, to Ariel's point. You can record audio and video directly in, or you can also use Squadcast for remote recording. So the quick recorder, this allows you to record audio or video directly into Descript. You'll just hit new and you can start recording right away. This new module I'm really excited about. It's called Learn Descript. This is going to highlight some tutorials to help you get started. So we've got some tutorials in here for using our new AI eye contact feature, using our voice cloning tool, which I'll talk about in a sec, and then also knowing how to remove filler words because I think we all use them. Ariel, have you caught yourself, like, now that you're using Descript, like how much it comes up?
Well, you know, I am perfect, but even I have some filler words here and there. Just kidding. Yes, I'm a big filler word user and really grateful for filler word removal.
Heard. Yes. So you can check those tutorials out when you want. Couple other things just to mention over here on the left side nav. We've got AI speakers. So this is sort of another level of AI that's incorporated into Descript. So we have a feature called Overdub, which allows you to create your own synthetic voice with a small amount of training data. We also have a bunch of stock voices incorporated into the app. So on days where you don't want to hear your voice, for me, that's most days, you can use one of our 10 stock voices. And you can set those up from here. Requires a little bit of training data plus a voice consent. We don't want this used for nefarious purposes. So there's some protocols in place to get that set up. Ariel, what's your take on overdub? Do you use it? Have you used it before?
I have been doing some trainings lately with students who
Nice.
are trying out using Descript, and they are fascinated by overdub. And every time I show overdub to people who might be using Descript in the future, they say this is going to be a huge game changer. I have tried it a little bit. I don't think that it has exactly figured out my voice yet, but I am definitely going to be putting in the time to get it figured out.
That's awesome.
What about
Yeah,
you?
it's no same. Like the first time I created my overdub voice, I used like my built-in microphone. I read from our training script, which is a good option for like, getting your first voice created. But an alternate option is to actually import your own like recordings of your speech. So if you have like an episode that you've already recorded or a tutorial or a video, import that and it will pick up sort of on your more natural cadence and like organic voice style as opposed to reading from a script. So I would recommend doing that instead. Couple other things just before we jump in and start working on a project. We have a feature that we call templates. And this is a great way to essentially take branded assets like logos, fonts, color schemes that you often use and essentially templatize them so that you don't have to recreate those over and over. So you can create those from scratch. I can also, I'll show you how to build these on the fly in a project, but we'll get to those. And then the last thing I just want to mention from this view is this concept of what we call workspaces. So workspaces is essentially twofold. Private workspace is private to you and you only as an individual member in Descript. If you're working on a team, the drive workspace is really awesome because Ariel and I, let's say if we're on the same drive, we can be working in here, collaborating on the same project, editing, commenting, and it's really great for just that live collaboration aspect. So let's dive in. Ariel, any burning questions?
Yes, we do actually have a few questions. And because we've got so much time, why don't we take a second and just recap one question that popped up, which is, would you please define what overdub is? Just for once and for all, what is overdub?
In its simplest terms, it's your Descript synthetic voice. So you can create a custom synthetic voice of your voice, so Ariel or Harmony, or there are overdub stock voices. So there's about, I want to say like 8 or 10 stock voices that you can pull from. So if you wanted to, let's say, script out an intro to your show, you could write it out, use a Descript project, just like a Word doc, and then convert that text to speech using an overdub voice. How is that resonating? Does that make sense?
Yes, that question came from Joe. So Joe, let us know if you're happy with that response. We can go in more depth if you'd like. And then one other person is asking, they don't currently see the Learn Descript section. Is that a new update? And is it possible that it's not there for them yet?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. So yes, you'll want to make sure that you're on the latest version of Descript. So the way that you can check that is if you go into if you go up to the Descript menu and then check for updates, it will tell you if you're using the latest version of Descript, which is 74.10. And if you're not, it will prompt you to update to the latest version.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. We do have more questions, but let's move on to the first section and then we'll pepper in some questions as we go.
Awesome. And one more thing before, just to mention from the account setup point of view, go into your settings, make sure you have this configured to your liking. You can set your default project type to audio only or video. You can set your default transcription language, which we transcribe in 23 different languages. I leave mine on English, but I have this toggled on to always ask before transcribing in case I bring something in that is not in English. You can set your theme from light to dark. In this case, for today, I'll leave it on light, but set your preferences there. But yeah, once you're ready to dive in, you're gonna just click on this new blue button here, and you'll have a couple different entry points in terms of how you can get started. I'm gonna get started with a video project, but I'll just walk you through some of these other examples. You can also start with an audio only project. So for folks that are working in audio only workflows, a couple key things will be to like set your default project type to audio. And then when creating a new project, use this option. Quick recording is that built-in recorder. So I can start recording audio, video, or a screen recording. And then last but not least, remote recording. This is what we're super excited about. So this will launch Squadcast, and this is professional studio quality remote recording. It's, I think, more purpose built for the types of sort of work that I'm seeing from our members. But Ariel, this is your domain. What else would you
My
say
domain.
about this? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, when they start recording, maybe it's a podcast, maybe it's a video interview series with somebody else, maybe it's a co-host, maybe you always have guests on the show, your first thought might be Zoom. And the reason for that is because Zoom is super ubiquitous. It's everywhere. During the pandemic, we hopped on Zoom and we did happy hours. We hopped on Zoom, we did trivia. We hopped on Zoom, we connected with our friends and family. So it's understandable that you would think to use Zoom, which is a conferencing software, to record your podcast or video series. However, Zoom is not optimized when it comes to the remote recording quality. It's optimized for conversations, but not so much for the end product of those conversations. And because of that, we highly advocate for using Squadcast or a remote recording platform that is dedicated to remote recording. Obviously, Squadcast is Descript's first choice. And what that means is that you are having your conversation recorded locally on your side of the screen, and your guest is having their side of the conversation recorded locally on their side of things. So you're not going to get that glitchy internet sound that a Zoom recording will give you. It's going to sound like you're in a studio. And if it doesn't sound absolutely perfect, once you go and edit into Descript, you can press studio sound and make it sound even better. And we'll get to that workflow shortly. Harmony, did that answer your question?
Absolutely. No, and then some. And for folks that already have a Descript account, if you'd like to connect to Squadcast, that can also be done from your settings, and you'll just go to your subscription tab and use this option to connect to Squadcast. And if you don't already have a Squadcast account, it'll just take you through a flow to create that account, and then you can even add additional members to your organization, and then you can set up shows, and it's super easy to get up and running.
It is like really unbelievably easy. I went to a launch party last night for a podcast that my friend started, and people were asking me, what do you do? I said, I work for Descript. They said, oh, I've heard of Descript. And I said, yeah, I'm new there because I came from Squadcast. And they were like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, Squadcast got bought by Descript, and now you as a Descript user have free access to a dedicated remote recording tool. So I really want to hammer that home as much as possible. You have free access to Squadcast.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's no reason not to use it. I would start using it over Zoom, to be totally honest.
Oh, absolutely.
But okay, now let's go ahead and jump into a project. I created one in advance, but you just click on video project, and I'm going to open up this Descript 101 project we've got ready to go. Cool. So when you create a brand new project, I like to think of like a project per episode or a project per video that I'm going to be producing. Once you've got a blank project open, there's a number of different ways you can get started. You're going to see some prompts here. So I can add a file. So if I have pre-existing audio or video, I can pull it in and it'll start transcribing. I can also start recording. So if I choose record, I can do audio only. I can do a camera recording. I can also do a screen recording. The great thing about the screen recorder is that it's a multi-track screen recorder. So easy to like create a quick explainer video and then shoot it out. I can start writing. One of the reasons I love writing in Descript is because I can really do like my full pre-production process in here. So I can script an entire video out. And then once I have it, I can almost use it as a teleprompter and then like record my intro directly in. And then I'm just hitting escape to get out of that. And last but not least, I can also start from a template. So if you need a little inspiration to get started, you can just start from something that's already pre-existing. But I'm going to start with adding a file, since that's kind of like the most common workflow here. I've got a video here that I'm going to pull in. And so this is going to be our transcript panel that we're going to be working from. Over here on the right, this is what we call our canvas. We're going to have over here on the left our scene rail, and we'll kind of get into these different surfaces shortly. So I'm going to pull in this MP4, just drop it right in here, and that'll kick off the transcription process. You'll get a couple prompts. So first off, I want to transcribe, and in this case, I want to transcribe in English, but you can use that drop down if it's in a different language. Transcribe, and then in the next module, I'm going to identify our speakers. So we do automatic speaker detection, which is really great. So once we get our transcript back, we'll be able to distinguish who's speaking when in our transcript. So I know in this case, there's actually 3 people here. And if you're unsure, don't worry about it. You can just say unsure, and we're going to be able to listen back to each speaker and identify them. We'll say done. Now we're going to identify them.
I'm Brian Morris from Hattie B's Hot Chicken right here.
All right, so that's Brian.
Yeah.
And okay, that's a producer in the background, so I'm going to note that.
Yeah, that's so awesome. I didn't know.
Okay, and that's Maddie. Cool. And so generally this goes pretty quick in terms of the speed of transcription. Generally for about every hour of audio or video that you ingest, it'll transcribe in about 3 to 4 minutes. While it's transcribing, there's some things that you can do to get it as close to 100% accuracy as possible. So generally you'll get like 95% accuracy with decent audio quality. If I go up to the Descript logo here in the top left-hand corner, I can go to Tools and use this transcription glossary. So this is a great way to train the AI. So like with names, like I would probably put Ariel's last name in here and some other common terms that I use. And then going forward, it will train from this glossary. So it'll improve the overall accuracy. Once you've added it here, you're one and done. You don't need to add it again. Ariel, is there anything you want to mention with respect to transcription while we wait for this to finish off?
Yeah, absolutely. I am a huge advocate for, first of all, editing by way of text. I love what Descript allows you to do, but I also love the end product of what a transcription allows you to have. So Harmony, do you see that a lot of people export their transcripts when they are do they clean them up on Descript, and then do they tend to export them and then upload them as show notes or as blog posts or as, extra content on their website?
100%. Yeah. That's the main thing, especially like upon ingesting that, like I'll see folks do a quick paper edit, get the transcript like up to snuff, like as far as overall accuracy, and then export the transcript, make it available in the show notes. I also see folks, you can export the subtitles as SRT or VTTs, so you can upload those into your delivery system, delivery platform. And the other nice thing is that you can actually burn the captions in directly into your video as well.
Yeah, we had a question pop up that is super relevant, so I just wanted to take a second.
Oh,
what if you already have a transcript for your audio?
Yeah, great question. So this is where if you go into, I jumped right in there. Let me explain what I'm doing here. If I click on the media icon here, this is broken into 2 different sections. So I've got my files, and then over on the right, we also have a stock media library. If you already have a really perfect transcript, what you can do is go into your file section, find the file that you already have a transcript for. And these are your files that you've originally uploaded into Descript, so the raw, unedited files. I'm going to click on the ellipses here. And then what you can do is we're going to replace and then go to replace transcript. And then that will allow you to copy and paste that transcript and sync it with the audio. We do have some formatting tips on how to go about doing this and optimizing that, but that's how you go about doing that. Great question.
Yeah, I love that question.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, so we are transcribed.
We are transcribed. So great. So now we can talk a little bit more about our surfaces here. So this first panel, this is where we have our transcript. We have our timeline. We have our canvas. Over here on the right, we have what we call our properties panel. And then over here on the left, our scene rail. And then last but not least, our insert toolbar up here. And we're going to get into all of these. Let's take a listen to our video here.
I'm Brian Morris from Hattie B's Hot Chicken right here in Nashville, Tennessee. And today we're joined by superfan Madison.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to have some fun. We're going to taste.
Okay. So the real core magic of Descript is editing your audio and video like a Word document. So for example, if I wanted to get rid of those first few sentences, I can highlight them, hit delete. Now my video starts here.
We're going to taste all 6 of our heat levels here at Hattie B's Hot Chicken. These are going to get wild.
Pretty cool, right? And
I'm jealous also. I'm hungry.
I'm so this is going over lunchtime, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go get a chicken sandwich after this. But so when making edits, instead of like right out the gate, instead of fully deleting sections, you'll notice when I highlight a range of text, I get this script toolbar here. I have a bunch of options. I can use formatting, I can bold and italicize, but I can also ignore. So if I use this ignore function, it's going to remove that audio and video, but I'll be able to track that editorial decision in my transcript. So now it's going to do the same thing as when I deleted it, but I'll see that those changes reflected in the transcript. So I'll play again.
We're going to taste all 6 of our heat levels here at Hattie B.
And like if I do the same here, let's say if I cut this out, I'm using the keyboard shortcut command delete or control delete if you're on Windows. And so if we go from here,
we're going to go fast, hopefully avoid some suffering with these.
Yeah. As you saw, it just like skips right over it, which is really nice. And as you're working, you can kind of control the size of these panels. So for example, if you don't even want to see the timeline just yet, you can hide it down here. You can also hide the properties panel. So I can kind of really dial in the view that I'm looking for. So the next thing I'll maybe talk a little bit about is just some quick and easy, efficient ways of creating your first edit. One of the things that you can access from this star menu here is removal of filler words. So if you select that over here on the right, you're going to see a filtered list of results here. And in this case, I can jump to a specific point in time if I want to audition a particular moment.
Yeah, so, the thing.
Okay. And in this case, if I click on all filler words, I'm going to see if like there's a bunch of them popping up. If I select all, I might just want to get rid of the repeated words, us and so's. Okay, so we have a new filtered list of results here. I've got 24 of them. Instead of deleting them, again, I like using ignore because what we'll see here is if we remove all of them, now it'll do kind of the same thing. We'll go jump from here. Oops, not getting my audio. What's going on there? How about from here?
Outside of Nashville, able to spread that further and wider all the time.
Right, so just skipped right over it.
Quick question for you, Harmony. If you do decide to delete, can you regret your deletes? And I don't mean that in an existential way, but can you go back?
Well, there's always regret. But yes, you can always, if you choose delete. So for example, if I want to get rid of what the producer said here, right? What you'll see in the transcript, it's not quite as easy, but what you'll see is to the right or to the left of the word more, you're seeing these little gray like dotted lines. That's indicating an edit point. So if I open up my timeline and if I'm going to jump right to that point. Okay, cool. It's a little further down here. I'm going to zoom in, get right in on that edit point. And if I go down here, the great thing is it's non-destructive. So if I hover on the timeline, start dragging it back, I'm going to get those few sentences from the producer back here.
So yes, you can regret your deletions.
Yes. So again, use the ignore. That's my recommendation there.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the nice thing, thinking about the non-destructive edit that you're creating in Descript. So if you kind of do a rough edit, you get to a point of content lock, and then you're going to hand this off to an engineer or sound designer. You can export this, bring it into Premiere or Pro Tools. It'll have that edit that you've created, but then once you're in, let's say Premiere or Pro Tools, you can continue to peel back on your tracks and continue to make edits as needed. Cool. Let's talk a little bit more about some of the magic functions here. In addition to filler words, you can also shorten word gaps. So if there's extended pauses, I know in my Zoom calls, there's always awkward silences. So you can say, hey, find anything longer than, in this case,
yes. This is my favorite thing.
3 seconds. Okay, so there's 3 instances, and I want to shorten that down to like 2 seconds. And you can just customize the lengths you want here and then just do shorten all, or you can, if you select one of these, you can shorten them kind of one by one. But this is a really nice way of like quickly and efficiently getting rid of those word gaps. do short and all. Cool. Ariel, were you going to jump in there?
Yes, this is my absolute favorite thing. Huge time saver for me.
Yeah.
I record a solo podcast. So I record right into Descript. And when I record, I have a script that I'm looking at on one of my screens, then I'm recording into my mic and it's transcribing. But what happens is I might not like the way that I read a certain line, or I might make a joke off the cuff that I then regret. And so I then pause and there's silence because I'm ashamed of the joke that I've made. So sometimes I just have a lot of silence that I need to cut. So I go in there and I shorten everything over 3 seconds to 2 seconds. And it just is amazing.
That's awesome. Yeah. Do you ever find, I know that like sometimes when I'm recording like short videos or tutorials, I'll say something and be like, you know what, I could have done that take a little bit better. I'll use like a verbal cue. I'll say like starting here. And then do you ever find that you do that? Or clap? Yeah.
Super
Nice.
helpful. So that you at least see that there's an indicator of that in the script or on the timeline or both.
Exactly. And the thing I like about the verbal cue is that, you know, you can search for it. So if I use that search function and I do, let's see, like find, let's see how many times the word chicken comes up. I can spell. Okay. It comes up 23 times. So if you're like, find where I said starting here, you can jump to that exact moment and then, you know, ignore the few sentences or paragraphs before that.
I just want to bring something up really quick. Somebody in our chat is asking, I do not have a Pro account. Does only Pro have the ignore feature?
No, yeah. The nice thing is that regardless of the plan that you're on, you'll have all of these like basic formatting functions.
I also have very good news for you, question asker, which is that you can get 1 free month of Pro just for attending this session right here today with code LIVE30 at checkout. I just put that onto the screen, so check that out. And please do use your free month of Pro.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll kind of give you a sense of what you might need and what you might not. We also have a creator plan. The fewer transcription hours, a little less functionality, but try it out and see what's going to work best for you. Cool. Let's Ariel, I'm inclined to talk about scenes for a little bit. How's that sound?
I love scenes.
Cool. So a scene is essentially a discrete segment in your media that allows you to then layer in added visuals. So if captions, B-roll, slides, and the way that you can add a scene is just to, let's see here. I personally like making a paragraph break. You don't have to, but that's just my preference here. And then add a slash, and then I'll add one more like right here. And so if like right here, I want a picture of like really, really nice, juicy chicken sandwich. And Ariel, I have to apologize because I know you're a vegetarian.
I can handle it.
Okay. So I'm going to go up into our stock media library. If I already had, the perfect slide or image, I can just bring it into Descript. But I'm going to pull something from our stock media library. So I'm going to do a fried chicken sandwich.
Wow.
And it'll come up with some results here. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Even as a vegetarian, it honestly looks good.
Okay. I'll grab this one. And I'm going to drop it right onto that scene. I can drop it over the words, or I can drop it on the scene. So a couple different ways to do it.
Oh, wow. That is not how I do it. And that is better. This is a better way.
How do you?
This is why I attend these sessions, Harmony.
How do you usually do it, Ariel?
I drag it into, I usually end up bringing it into I make the scene cuts afterwards. And then I have to delete it from my other scenes. So this is much more efficient.
Got you. Well, yeah, I mean, and hey, there's always like a couple different ways to do the same thing in Descript. It's just
that's kind of the cool thing about it.
Yeah. Just, play around with it, see what's best for your workflow. And in this case, hot chicken sandwiches is what's good for them. So here we go. So we're going to transition from scene 1 into scene 2.
So today we're going to have some fun. We're going to taste all 6 of our heat levels here at Hattie B's Hot Chicken. These are going to get wild.
Okay.
That was great. Great insertion.
Great. Yeah, that's the timing's working. But to me, like that felt a little jumpy when it went from have some fun into we're gonna taste all six of our heat levels. So the nice thing, I want to bring up the properties panel, and I want to do, if I click on scene 2, I want to transition into that beautiful shot of this fried chicken sandwich. So over in the properties panel, I'm going to click on the plus button here. I go to in. So I want to do an in transition. So I'm going to do a crossfade here. And then I'm also going to do an out transition. Let's do a cross zoom. Let's get wild. Okay. All right. So we'll go from here again.
We're going to have some fun. We're going to taste all 6 of our heat levels here at Hattie B's Hot Chicken. These are going to get wild. We're going to go fast.
Okay. So use those transitions, to kind of ease those sort of more jumpier jump cuts. That should help with that. How are we doing so far? Ariel, any questions popping up in the chat?
Yes, we have a bunch of relevant questions. I'm going to put one in right now so that you can check it out. Cool. This question comes to us from Cap, who asks, how did you find the property panel? If you could just scroll over that again.
Absolutely. So, but beforehand, I actually had the property panel hidden. So in the top right-hand corner, you're going to see this little square icon here. So it'll indicate if you hover on it, properties. So if I click on it, it'll open and close it. So, and the thing to watch out for is depending on where you're clicking in the interface, the properties will change. So for example, if I'm on a scene, we see here that our properties, we see our transitions, but if I click on the canvas, for example, my properties change because maybe I want to go in, change the opacity of one of my layers, or in this case, I might want to go into the layout and change it a little bit, change the duration, the speed here. So your properties panel will adjust based on the selection or where you're clicking in the interface.
Awesome.
Great question.
Thank you. And Cap, let us know if that answered your question.
Awesome. The other, any other questions popping up, Ariel, or should we keep going?
We do have a bunch of questions. Let's go to, you know what, let's keep going for now because we have a lot of questions that go back to the beginning. So we'll save those for the end.
Okay.
I don't want to interrupt your flow too much.
No, this is great. Cool. So we've imported some material. We've transcribed it. We've identified our speakers. We've added a couple scenes. We've talked a little bit about the property panel. Let's maybe add in some additional layers. So one thing that I really love about Descript is that it can easily make your content incredibly accessible while also being engaging. So I know in this case for this video, I want to add in some captions. And so if I go up to my text icon here, if I select captions, that has inserted some captions now. And the cool thing is that you'll see that represented down here in the timeline. Now, since I was only in scene 1, it only added captions in that first scene. I actually want my captions to span through the entire duration of the video. So what I can do is I'm going to click on my caption layer and stretch it out. And we're going to make it last the entire duration here. So click and drag. A little bit longer. Man, how long can you be talking about chicken sandwiches here? Okay.
There's a lot to be said about chicken.
There is. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So now we've got our captions. And once you've added them in, if you select that layer, you can change the font. So if you go in here, I can maybe, what will I change it to? Let's change it to Roboto. I can change the styling of it. So maybe I want this regular. I can change the size. I can move it around too. And this is the real power of scenes. Like if I know for the first scene, I want captions at the top. And then for the rest of the video, I want them down at the bottom. I can just adjust that via scenes. I can also change the style of the captions too. So I've got this on classic, but if I want to do like karaoke mode, it can highlight active and future word colors. Or if I just keep it on, I'll keep it on classic, and maybe I want to change the background. And when you're playing around with this, make sure, you're up to like accessibility standards, so you're not creating captions that people can't read. So something to watch out for. But you can add in, hex code and RGB codes to match your branding guidelines. Ariel, what else would you say about captions when adding them in?
I think something that is interesting to me about captions is the difference between captions on a video and audiograms when it comes to making a video version of your audio only. So can you just give us the definition or the difference between the two, captions and audiograms?
Certainly. Yeah. So captions are just essentially like closed captions that sit on top of your video versus an audiogram. If you're working with, let's say, something that's an audio only file, you can, these will be available in the template library here. If I go into audiograms, this is a way of bringing some audio alive with video elements. So progress bar, waveforms, interactive text. So that's generally how I describe them. But Ariel, how else would you distinguish them?
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. If you primarily work in video, captions will do great for you. But if you primarily work in audio and you want to create a visual component to your audio, caption, there we go.
Yeah.
Audiograms are a really great way to make that happen, to give your listeners or to give your consumers a way of also viewing your MP3 or WAV file.
Exactly. And like here we've got some templates that are, good starting point if you need a little starting point. But once you select one of these, you can then like customize it to the look and feel of
your heart's content.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is you can also create custom ones too. So.
And you can create scenes within. So if you wanted to throw in GIFs or moving images or even videos, you could do that too. It's pretty robust what you can do.
Exactly. And I should mention, while we are working in a video composition, I could also create, we haven't talked a ton about compositions, but I could create a second or an additional composition, and this could be an audio only composition. So the way I usually define a composition is like a separate doc. It's almost like our version of a doc. Or the way I also like using them, I'll go ahead and delete this since I'm not going to use it. Got to reload.
Oh no, something's not working.
Always during a live event.
I did have a question pop up in the meantime that while we're loading, you might be able to answer. Grant has seen zoom in and pan, but is there a zoom out function in transitions?
Yes. Yeah. So you could use if we're let me go to the right composition here, because we're going to want to have the right scene. Okay. Too much zooming. Okay. If we go to our transition, in this case, whoops, let me do zoom out. So we choose out. So we have an in and an out point. And then in this case, I think you could do like a crossfade or cross zoom depending on what you're wanting to do.
Awesome. Thank you. Great question, Grant.
Awesome. Any other kind of burning questions in and around like captions or audiograms?
I think we're okay for now. We will definitely come back to some.
Awesome.
Oh, actually, You know what? I've got one.
Yeah.
I do have one. Thank you for asking. This question comes to us from Michelle, who says, are the captions or audiograms searchable online?
Captions search.
So I think the question there is, if you were to post one of the videos or audiograms that you create, do they index? And let us know, Michelle, if that's the question.
Yeah. So that you can set that preference upon publishing in Descript, and I'll do a whole section on exporting and publishing. But when you go to, let's say you want to publish this as a web link, you can set this so that it's either searchable or it requires project access, so a little more privacy for your project.
And then just one more question. We've got this one coming from Cap, who says, where can I add subtitles in a different language?
Oh, so the short answer is we don't do translations yet. So you can transcribe in different languages, but I couldn't take this and like translate it to German, right now. Something that we hear a lot. Something we're working on. And even later this quarter, we're working on incorporating some GPT features in. So if you haven't already, drop that on our feedback page and upvote it, because you'll see people have already asked for this, the translation feature.
But I believe if you wanted to, if you had those subtitles available elsewhere, you could always upload them. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, great question.
Oh, we answered Michelle's question perfectly. She says, that's exactly what I meant.
Oh,
love that.
Perfect.
Love to hear it.
It's always nice when you get it on the first try. Cool. Couple other things I want to get to in the script, and then maybe want to talk a little bit about the timeline. So going back to this script toolbar. So if you highlight that range of text, we talked about the formatting, the bolding, italicizing, ignoring. For repurposing content, Descript is really powerful at this. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. One is using this duplicate to option. If you know you just want to pull this out for your social moment later on, click on duplicate to, do new composition. And what that'll do is it's going to extract just that selection. And so I could take this and say like Brian social clip, and
hopefully avoid some suffering with these
Yes.
pickles.
And if I know,
and talk a little bit about Drive too.
if I want to like repurpose this for Instagram, I can switch this to portrait mode. And since he's talking, maybe I want to just make him a little bit more present on screen here. Cool. And so you can go in and change the video orientation depending on the platform that you're exporting out to. So that's the duplicate to function. Another way of doing that is using our highlighting tool. So for example, if Ariel and I are in here making edits together, I can like use the comment feature and say, oh, I don't have you on my drive. I'll have to do something about that. But I could mention someone and say like, can you review? And then this is great. I'm talking to myself in this project. I'll be able to pop in, respond, use that commenting function just like you would in Google Docs. And then once you've had the necessary conversation, you can resolve that and archive it. But let's say Ariel was like, yeah, go ahead and use that clip, and she could highlight it. And maybe I want to create a couple more here. I'll create another highlight here. Maybe my highlights are in Violet. And then once we've created some highlights, I can go up to the star menu again and do copy highlights, do all of them. So this is kind of like a copy and paste function here. So I'm going to create a new composition. Social clips 2. And I'm just going to paste that in. I'm just Command Ving or Control Ving. And it's just brought those selections over. So really nice way of repurposing content, either using that duplicate to function, which I like for just shorter individual clips, or using highlights for multiple clips that you might want to repurpose. Or you can use highlights for like different takes. Or Ariel, what have you generally used highlights for?
Mostly for creating audiograms for my podcast. So I record the entire thing. So I record about 15 minutes for my podcast. And then later, once the podcast is published, I want to create some audiograms to point people to my podcast. So I go back in and I listen for what I think is the most compelling. I highlight those few things. I bring them over into a new composition. And then I make them look really visually appealing so that when I post them on social, people love them just so much that they've got to go listen to the podcast.
That's awesome. That's super. Hey, would it be useful? I know we've been working primarily in a video project. Would it be useful to create something that's audio only, just so folks can see that workflow?
Let us know in the chat if you are interested in audio only.
Yeah.
Although I think the good news here is that a lot of the elements that you are showing us in video apply to audio as well.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. Well, if you see something pop up in the chat, let me know, and we can do that.
Can I jump in with a quick question?
Yeah, please.
Okay, this question says, can you transition out added text titles similar to video/images?
Okay, I think I understand.
I think I do too.
Added text titles.
I think it means that scene to scene if you wanted to change out the way your text looked.
Yes. Yeah, great question. So I'm going to add a couple scenes here. And okay. I'm going to add in some captions.
Looks like we've got some requests for audio only. That's good to know.
Okay, awesome. Great. Okay, so for scene 1, I'll leave my captions as is. For scene 2, I want I want the fill color to be purple. And then for scene 3, I want them to be we'll do red. And then if I want, the nice thing is I can also, in the timeline, I can do things like having the captions fade in and fade out. But I'll go ahead and play this real quick.
Chicken, you need 2 things.
So we're in scene 1.
Great Southern fried chicken.
Now it's switched to scene 2.
And
They're
melted
purple.
Spices. Now we're not going to get to hot melted spices yet. Okay. Yeah. So father and son.
That looks good.
So you can use scenes, for that very purpose. Or like, let's say in scene 2, I want like the word Southern fried chicken much bigger. Or let's do a GIF or GIF. Sorry. Ooh, okay. Let's do. Oh, I love Mr. Bean. Okay, let's grab that. Awesome. Hi. And so here, this is cool. This is a good segue into talking about layers too. So if I right click on my layer, I want to change the order because I want my captions to actually sit on top of that layer. So I'm going to send that backward. Okay, cool. And then for this, now it should transition here.
Hot chicken, you need 2 things. Okay. Great Southern fried chicken, right? And hot melted spices.
That's a great,
now we're not going to get
GIF, GIF. I will never get it right. I will always say GIF, GIF.
I do the same thing. So hopefully that answered the question there. But let me know if I'm missing anything.
Yeah, I thought that was great. Another question came in that I think is relevant here. Can you stack scenes for multiple effects?
Stack scenes for multiple effects. So having let's see if I a scene in between scenes. Is that how you understand it?
Another way to look at it could be, can you put more than one element within the scene?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If that's the answer, if that's the question, the answer is heck yeah.
Yeah.
But let us know if otherwise.
Yeah, 100%. So like if in scene 2, I just want to go crazy here with this, maybe I want a
multiple
sticker
chicken
too.
Dancing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Awesome. So in this case, I might want to resize it and move it to the top right-hand corner. And for like both of these GIFs, I'm having them loop so that they last the full duration of scene 2. If I don't, I would just have them, it would just show for a shorter period of time. But in this case, I'll let it loop. So now Mr. Bean in all his glory.
Great Southern fried chicken, right? And hot.
Okay. So yes, you can have multiple layers in the same scene.
Awesome.
Cool. Any other layer questions or chicken questions?
Well, it seems like we have a lot of folks who are interested in audio only. So why don't we spend the next few minutes showing us what can only be done in video, and then we can transition to audio, if that makes sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there anything else that we must know about video?
So with video, I'm going to segue to another, a totally separate recording. This is a short interview between some of my favorite gals here, Marilyn, who's on our team, and Petra, who's a really talented musician. Couple of things, in this case, with that Hattie B's video that we uploaded, that was a single MP4 versus if we record in Squadcast, we're able to record folks on separate channels. The benefit of this is that it will give you more flexibility when making edits down the road. So like removing crosstalk and background noise. So for example, with Marilyn and Petra, instead of having them side by side, It's another way you can use scenes to your and do add scenes by active speaker. And the cool thing about this, yeah, I love this because it'll transition from Marilyn here.
Yeah, so we'll get right into it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having.
And so it'll just go full screen for each speaker. And the nice thing is that you can always override this. So like if in scene 3, I want to see both of them, just go into your layers and we're going to show both of them. And then you can resize them in the canvas. And the really powerful thing about this is, let's say if I'll size this the way I want it, get this right. A little bigger. Okay. If I like this layout and I want to have this for scene 4 as well, I can right click on scene 3. I'm going to copy that layout. And then if I paste that on scene 4, it's going to save that layout. So it'll continue to have them side by side. Another thing that you can do with video that's super powerful, we've talked about some, scene transitions and effects. You can also animate. You can like zoom and pan, or like do custom animations in here. You can also apply green screen and chroma key, and like you can do color correction in here and all of that. So if I were to use that green screen effect, this is super. I love using this. And if I wanted to, let me do this for Maryland too. Okay, cool. And then I could like, put them, in a nice background. So I could say like, let me find a nice New York shot. There we go. We'll put them. All right, I'll move that layer. I'm gonna, so layer order, send backward.
Ooh.
Back. There we go. And I could move them. Could put like Petra down here. This isn't like the most beautiful.
No, it's gorgeous
thing I've created, but
don't doubt yourself.
This is the thing I like about green screen, and then you can make them bigger. Let's do. Okay, and then I could add my captions, put that in there. Maybe I'll move that up to the top. So I really love the green screen effect, especially if you're on a Zoom call. You're maybe in a hotel lobby, you just flip on green screen and then adjust your background and you can really spruce it up. The other thing that you can do with video is utilizing our templates. So we'll talk a little bit about audiograms, but you can also build those custom templates, as I mentioned. So for example, if I wanted to take, I'm going to grab just this section where Petra is talking about her time during the pandemic. I'm going to do a new composition here, open that up. Okay. And in this case, actually, I'm going to get rid of this background. I'm going to go into my template library. I've built a couple things in advance. I've got, let me find this one. Here we go, influencer templates. I'll grab that. And so what it'll do is it's saying match orientation, because I built it as a vertical one. And so now it's pulled in my progress bar. It's pulled in my background image. I might want to resize Petra a little bit.
Honestly, the inspiration really came because of the.
So what this allowed me to do is I didn't have to like bring that image in. I didn't have to customize my captions because I already had them built. Brought in the waveform and the progress bar. So easy peasy. And again, super easy to like repurpose content using the highlights and duplicate to, and then slap on a template. What am I missing, Ariel? I'm sure I like skipped over something there.
This is great. I'm wondering if for the rest of our time we have questions, and I think a lot of them are they apply both to video and audio, but it might be interesting for us to go to an audio project and answer some of these questions with audio in mind.
Absolutely.
Does that
yeah,
work?
That totally works. So an option, like I can stay in this project and just create a new composition that's audio only. So let me demonstrate how to do that. So with a video project, by default, we have our canvas. So what I want to do is I actually want to switch this. I'm going to label this in JP. And I'm going to flip this to a audio only composition. So now by doing that, we lose our canvas and we don't need it. So I'm going to grab some source material here real quick. Let's grab J and JP here. So I've got two files. It's a two-sided conversation between J and JP. Drag them in just like we did with our video. That kicks off the transcription process. So we're going to transcribe. We're going to go through that same process of adding our speaker labels and creating that multi-track sequence. So in this case, this is JP. And we've got J here as well. All right, so done. And so that'll continue to transcribe. And so this really makes it super simple in the sense that you really only have a couple surface areas that you're going to be working in. The main one being your transcript, and then also having the ability to work down in the timeline for those more fine-tuned edits. And then you'll still have your properties panel to be able to go in and adjust speed and volume and so on. So we'll give this a second. It's almost done transcribing here.
Yeah.
It's always a good test to transcribe live and see how it does.
Look, we let you watch how the sausage is made.
Exactly.
That's the way to go. We have a lot of questions. But we're ready. So I'll let you continue your spiel and then I'll get into the questions.
Cool. So editing works exactly the same as far as, if I'm going to play this real quick.
Flicked off the recording screen itself. I was on your LinkedIn. So yeah, picking up here again. You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine.
Okay, so cool. We don't need this little bit where they kind of they get on the horn and go back and forth. So I'm going to ignore that. So now we'll start here.
You're listening to AI in Action. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Jay.
Cool. And then very similar, I can still use all my, remove my filler words, shorten my word gaps. I can go through different sections. And to Ariel's point, if you're doing a audio only podcast, you can highlight that range of text. Maybe I want to highlight that for an audiogram later, and I'm going to copy that highlight, bring that into a new composition, and I'm going to paste that. Cool. And I actually, since I was previously working video, let's swap this back. We're going to turn this right into a video composition shortly, but we'll leave it like this. And then I might say like, okay, cool. I'm ready for Ariel to take a listen. I'll mention her and she can pop in and give me some feedback. But yeah, works very similarly to the way that I was editing video. You're just have a fewer surfaces. You don't have to worry about that scene rail. And then for now, we don't have that canvas. And then for the more fine-tuned edits, if you do go in and make some edit points down here, I can make my timeline a little bit bigger. Let's say I want to get rid of this silence here. I can, if I grab onto my word bar here, if I click drag left, that'll shorten up that silence. So I can adjust the timing. I can use the blade tool to go in and create edit points. And then if I go back to my select tool, I can select just that clip. I can also use the range tool to select a range of text in my timeline. Or if I want, I can also use this slip tool. This is really useful, especially if I've got a ton of tape I need to get through. I can slip through like so. And then the last sort of timeline tool worth mentioning here is the hand tool. So I can move up and down the timeline pretty easily. Okay. I've been talking a lot. I'll pause there.
You've been crushing it. I love when you talk a lot. We have a lot of questions. Let's get to them. Here is a question that says, can you replace a spoken word with another spoken word if you've created an AI voice of yourself?
Yes, indeed, you can.
The future is here.
Indeed. The future is here. Yeah. So the way that'll work is if you, I'm going to bore you to death here. I'm going to record a little something here real quick. We'll do, okay. I'm going to record. All right. Welcome to Harmony's podcast. I'm so sorry you have to listen to this. This is pretty much going to be the worst thing ever. Okay. I'm going to stop that. And the nice thing is it'll transcribe. And so if I wanted to change the word the worst to the best, I can totally do
Ooh,
that.
that's a great
So-
example, Harmony. I love that. Let's see what happens here.
Okay. So in order to do that, the first thing is that I need to associate my voice with this text. So I'm going to go to add speaker and I need to select my voice. So in order to do this, you need to do a little bit of setup. You'll create your voice. But then once you do it, you'll go to my AI speakers. Oh, that sounded very AI. Anyway, so I'm going to say, I'm going to change worse. I'm going to highlight it. And then I'm going to go to replace and I'm going to overdub this. So I'm going to type in what I really want to hear. Say best and overdub. And so now you can see it's kind of like flashing gray. That's indicating it's converting that text to speech. And we'll give it a second here. And let's see how this sounds. This is pretty much going to be the best thing ever. Okay. So
wow.
It's as simple as that.
That is unreal. Wow. Thank you. That's a great question.
Great question.
Thank you for that question, Lori. Let's go to our next question. How do you fade out audio? Example, fade out intro music from focused intro into background music in the next scenes.
Great. Let's maybe, let me go back to Marilyn and Petra. This might be a good way to kind of illustrate that.
And again, if you just wanted to see this as audio only, truly just don't look at the right panel.
Exactly. Yeah. So for example, if I'm going to create a new sort of opening scene. So if I just add the slash, that will add 5 seconds of dead air here. And if you already have some music, just drag it in. I'm going to use our stock media library since it's here. I want some jazzy, oops. Something jazzy. Cool. And I can go through. We'll go through it. Let's see if how's this sound. Oh, okay, that's a little manic. Let's funky break.
I was like grooving. That was for me.
I'm gonna try funky break here. So I'm gonna pop that in, drop it into scene 1. And okay. That lasted a little longer than I wanted it to, so all good. I'm gonna shorten that up.
Just by dragging it, you can shorten it.
Just by dragging it. Yeah, we can shorten that up. And let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay. So I want maybe like 5 seconds of music. And then if I want this to stretch over into my scene 2, have this like last, into scene 3 or like the whole duration. So now let's take a listen. We're going to make some modifications.
We are.
And so for that opening scene, I might want, to have maybe some text here. Marilyn and Petra. And I could let's move that up, center it. Maybe I want to have that fade in. So let me do a transition in. Do crossfade. Cool. And so what I can do now in scene 2, if I want the music to basically kind of lower when they get into the conversation, a couple things you can do. One is adding in volume keyframes. So if I right click on the music track, I can do add volume keyframe. I'll add another. I'm going to zoom in even a little bit more. And more. And so I'm going to bring the level down just a little bit. So you can control that by clicking on these little keyframes here, the little circles. And so what we'll notice here, maybe at scene 2, I want to have it start up there, and then it's going to decrescendo. I'm going to rely on my musical degree here. Okay. And let's see how this is sounding.
We are officially recording.
Okay, so I might want to make that a little bit quieter. I can also use ducking too, which is an audio effect. But if you want to have a little bit more control over it, using keyframes for that is super handy. I hope. Let me know if you're not satisfied with that answer, and I can expand on that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I just the fact that you can drag things, drag your music, drag your fade ins, fade outs. You can crossfade is super, super helpful.
Absolutely.
I love this next question. Can you give an example of how to create a template from scratch?
Yeah, totally. Let's go to scene 4 because maybe I want to create a template for a nice like multicam view. So let's see here. The first thing I want to do is I want to change my background color. So maybe I'll change, go lighter. Okay, that looks nice. And then, so basically I'm just kind of like changing my layers as I go, and then we're gonna save this scene as a template. So I'll also add some captions. We'll move those down here. Let's see here.
Amazing. Okay, fantastic.
Okay. And actually, if I wanted my music to go throughout that scene, let's see, why not? Okay. I'm going to change the color of my captions here. Let's do, cool. I'm going to add in let's do a progress bar too. We'll move that up to the top. And okay, that's good, I think, for simplicity's sake. So if I want to save that as a template, so I just kind of built that on the fly, I can right click on that scene and then I'm going to save to template. What that's going to do is it's going to open up a separate window. So let me go ahead and stop sharing because I want to show my entire screen so you can see this. Let's do entire screen. Okay, cool. So now I've got my second window opening. This is my template that I just made. So I want to do a couple things here. Good to know I'm on the latest version. Okay, so this is multi-cam purple. And then you'll see that it's brought over the captions, the progress bar, and I'm going to publish the template. You need to be able to you need to publish before you can start using your templates. So I'll label this multicam purple 1. And so templates are applied at the scene level. So if you wanted to have a couple iterations of this for different scenes, maybe different themes, you could set that. And then I'm going to set this to you by default, it will be a private template, but if you're collaborating with other people on the drive, you can say share with drive. I'll publish that. And so now, once that gets published, so let's say if I want to, I'm going to kind of redo this, get rid of, as beautiful as this is. Okay, I'm going to go to scene 4, and I'm going to go up into my template library now. And let me see if I can find that one that I just made. And multicam purple. Okay, I think that's it. Thanks. There we go. Okay, so apply it. And there we go. It's as simple as that. One click apply. Boom. And from there, you could also, add that green screen effect, maybe layer in a different visual behind them. So you can, continue to take it a few steps further.
Awesome.
I think I saw, am I seeing some studio sound ones or, oh yeah.
We do have some studio sound questions. Yes.
Cool.
Let's get to that. I love the studio sound questions. So does this person. I love studio sound, but I'm using studio sound, but wondering if I messed up in the line editor or if it was studio sound doing it. The audio fades at the end of a sentence.
Okay. So I think I'm understanding, but I'll try to kind of cover a couple bases here. So for those unfamiliar, studio sound is kind of like I like to compare it to like an Isotope RX Lite. It's removing background noise, but also a speech enhancement tool. So it'll bring up the proximity effects, make it sound like you're using a really great microphone in an ideal setting. So let's just let me turn it on. So here it is with it out, without it.
You don't have this to start. You don't have anything. We can just get rid of the rest of this. Doesn't matter, right? And so
you're hearing like a little, like the sounds bouncing off the walls a little bit. It's, if I turn it on, we add it in studio sound. And I promise I'm getting to the question here.
So we really care about the chicken that goes into this. Really great regionally sourced chicken. We take a lot of.
Great. So what I might do if it is cutting off like ends of the sentences, it might be that you have studio sound at 100% intensity. Sometimes that can overly process your audio. So generally, I usually like to have studio sound at about like somewhere between like 70 and 80%. And that should address the issue that you're talking about here. If not, please reach out to us via support, and we can take a closer look at your project file. So yeah, definitely play with that intensity dial to address any like overly processed sounds that you might be getting.
Yeah. We had a few questions pop up about Squadcast in the chat, so I'm just going to address some of those. A lot of folks are wondering how your guests can connect on Squadcast. So when you create a session on Squadcast, you can either invite them right on your screen. You can type in their email address and they'll receive an email from you with a link to connect. Or you can create your session and then send your guests or your co-hosts, up to 10 people in a session. You can send them the link that you're using to connect. They do not have to download anything. They just have to open up the internet and they use a link to enter into the Squadcast session. What happens then is when you press record, your files are being recorded locally on your side of things, and their files are being recorded locally on their side of things. But you don't need to ask them for anything because they are going to be delivered to your workflow drawer. So you don't have to worry about following up with them and asking them to send the files. You will have access to all of them. As many files as there will be that many, or as many speakers as there will be that many files. And you can then edit those files in separate tracks, or edit those tracks in separate, different tracks on Descript or in Descript. And it makes it very easy to edit in Descript. The button is right there for you. So you just press edit in Descript. It'll move everything into Descript and you're good to go.
Exactly. It's really, I really love this. You can really have like a true round trip experience, like starting in Squadcast. When you edit, it'll, as we saw at the very front of this session, it'll create the project for you and do all of the transcribing automatically. Yeah. Awesome. Great question.
Harmony, can you briefly touch on what is eye contact?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. So eye contact, it essentially corrects your eye gaze. So honestly, I wish I had this for, normal like Zoom calls, but if you're looking over to the right, left, or wherever, maybe you're looking at an outline, it's going to auto correct your gaze and make it look like you're looking right into the camera.
That's it. Boom.
That's it. Let me see. I can maybe, while we go through some other questions, I can pull in some media here and show you an example of that if I can find a good file for that. Cool. And I'll switch this to a video composition here. Oop. My stomach is growling because I want that chicken sandwich. All right. So I'd click on the canvas. I'd go into, let's see here, effects, and we're going to switch on eye contact. Usually takes a second to apply, but super great, especially if you're looking off into the distance and you really just want to be looking dead center of the screen. It's going to take a sec, so we can go on to another question.
Love that. So Kim says, so if you're reading from a script just off camera, you can fix that. The answer is yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And just for folks who are wanting to learn a little bit more about Squadcast, we're doing a session in 2 weeks, Squadcast 101. So if you're watching us right now on Crowdcast, if you click up on the left corner of the screen, the Descript icon, you'll see all of our other events that are taking place in the near future. So you can register for that now. You won't miss a thing. And of course, if you can't make it live, we'll have that available as a replay on YouTube.
Right. So if you see here, let me go to a better, okay. So if I switch, see how Julia's kind of looking off to the left. If I switch it on, let me get a little further. And then switch it off. See that? Her eyes like kind of dip down.
Wow.
On, off, on.
That's amazing.
Cool.
Thank you. Great question. Eye contact, super important. Okay, we've got another question here. Can you show how to lower, fade up or down the audio / music from one scene to the next?
Oh, yeah. Got you. Let's go. Cool. Okay. So if I want, I'm going to create a couple different scenes here. Cool. So right here, we have it. I've created a couple what we call volume keyframes. So I have the music coming in right here.
1.
So it showed kind of like a little bit more dramatic. So I can adjust this down to be a little bit more quiet. Let me do
1. We are officially.
And so if I want that to come up a little bit later on, I'm going to zoom out and let's say here, I'm going to create another scene. And here I'll create another zoom in. I'm going to create another volume keyframe. And another one. Then I can bring it up. So if I want to start here.
Forums, that's where she's based out of. And today.
So you can make it as quiet as you want and then as loud as you want at that next scene. Is that helping?
Yeah, that's a perfect answer.
Okay.
Just making sure, I think the key learning principle here is making sure you're divided up into scenes so that things do change based on scene to scene.
Yeah. And just so you have those visual cues too for yourself. That way it's easy to see like when and if something changes.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Let's go to another question. Oops. I would love to know if the video editor removal, does it leave the visuals while cutting the ums?
So if you're deleting or ignoring, it's also going to remove that video as well. So it will create a little jump cut. And if you want to keep the video in but remove, let's say, the from the transcript, there's a way to do that. But the long story short here is that, yes, if you remove an it will create a little jump cut in the video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Quick question from Tom. I may have missed this, but do you have stock audio music? The answer is yes. Do you want to just quickly show where we can grab that?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're just going to click on the media icon here, and you'll want to select the audio tab, and you'll have two options. You can search for music and also for sound effects, and then just enter in the keyword for the thing that you're looking for, and you can go through and audition the different selections that you're presented with.
Awesome. Okay. A lot of questions. Thankfully, you are so thorough, Harmony, that we have gotten to a lot of them. Let's see what we've got here. Let's do this one. I don't think we've touched on this yet. How can I use the same video and script to create different sizes of the same video?
Oh, such a good question. So I've really butchered this this composition here, so I'm gonna recreate this real quick. So let's say we'll do new composition. Okay, cool. So let's say this is my vertical version, or no, landscape. Oh, so okay. And then if I want to take this, I want to use the same video but different format. I'm going to take this, duplicate it. And I'm going to relabel this. We'll do square. And then come over into the canvas, and you're going to see the option to change the settings here. So I could adjust it to a square. And if I want, I could like stack Marilyn and Petra maybe a little bit differently down here. So maybe want Petra down here.
Oh, that looks good.
Here. Get in there. And then I could rinse, repeat, and do the same thing for a vertical video as well, or portrait mode. So I essentially have 3 versions of the same video, one for landscape, one for Insta, and one for, let's say, TikTok. which I don't use, but yes, there you have it.
Awesome. Great question coming from Emily, who says, how do I upload my own images instead of stock photos?
Great question. So what you'll want to do is, here, let me go back to landscape. So let's say I want to bring in my own video here or image. This is good. I'm sharing my whole desktop. So I'm going to find an image that I've got. Let me close that out. Pull up. Let's say, go into photos here. Cool. That'll work. So I can just find the image or the slide, the video, whatever it is, and then just drag it right in. You can drag it on top of the canvas. You can also drag it right on top of the scene that you want to apply it to. And then we'll see that image pop up. And then once you're in the canvas, you can resize it. And you can, have like the image fade in or fade out, so you can add some effects there. But that's how you do it if you have your own asset library.
Awesome. Yeah, it's pretty similar to just the principle of dragging any sort of media into any project. You really just drag it, let it go, and then adjust from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. We had another question from Cap. Are all the stock audio allowed to use without commercial license?
Yeah, great question. So the stock media library is coming from Storyblocks, and it's all fully licensed for personal commercial purposes. We can, our support heroes, Rahul and Zach, if you guys want to throw in a link, I think we have an article specifically on Storyblocks or the stock media library. Can read up on that.
Awesome. Thank you for that question. And thank you for that answer, Harmony. We just have about 3 minutes left. So I think we'll touch on one more question and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
How does that sound?
Let's go.
All right. I've got this question coming into you from Phil, who is hanging out over on Crowdcast. The question is there any way to set audio levels when recording, either quick record or in the script?
Okay, great question. So you can certainly do this in Squadcast. If I go to record, let's see here, you can, I don't think we'll give you a countdown. You can enable studio sound when in recording, but let's see here. I don't think so. I think there's probably like a default setting that it records at. Rahul or Zach, if you don't mind throwing in the chat if you know offhand, but I think so, but I don't want to speak out of turn here.
And Jim made a comment that I agree with, which is that jump cuts are actually super hot right now. It's true. You'll see that all the time depicted on social media clips, but also, on TV. There's a lot of jump cuts going on. So thank you for sharing that, Phil. So if you are editing by way of removing words from your doc and you get jump cuts, it kind of just looks modern.
It's true. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Harmony, we've got about 1 minute left, so I'm going to wrap us up. Thank you so much for doing this amazing tutorial. So many questions were asked. So many questions were answered. This was Descript 101. We do these pretty often. We do a lot of learning opportunities for you pretty often. We would love to see you hanging out with us on our Discord channel. That is where you can go to learn about pretty much everything going on in the Descript universe. It's where you can find out about office hours. It's where you can find out about future events. So go ahead and scan that QR code and join actually 15,000 plus other Descript creators. We need to update that image. There are a lot of people hanging out there offering support to each other and also asking questions about how to best use this software to make their audio and video projects. And then one more thing before we go, we would love for you to take advantage of getting a free month of Descript Pro with code LIVE30 at checkout. Again, just scan that QR code and you can do that. If you have any questions, go to help.descript.com. And shout out again to Zach and Rahul, who have been answering your questions this whole time in the chat. Shout out to Harmony for leading us today. And shout out to Christiana, who set everything up. It has been a pleasure working with you today, and to the Descript folks out there. Best of luck creating, and let us know if you have any questions. We'll see you next time.
Thank you, Ariel.